Hello, I'm Mark Half Moon. Every day, television, newspapers, and to some extent, radio report on our community. We feel that these traditional sources often miss the point, focusing on deadlines rather than stories. Community television would like to offer you a new service. We will present a series of documentaries looking closely at our county, telling people stories, and getting to the bottom of overlooked issues. This is Epicenter. Welcome to Community TV's pilot episode of Epicenter. Thanks to all of you who voted online in choosing the name of our newest magazine program. In today's issue, we'll be looking at three main stories. First, we travel south to Watsonville. Producer Emery Hudson talked with residents of the fast-growing city about their recent controversies and how they affect the entire county. Then, Craig Goldstein takes a look at what's happening in healthcare reform on the state level, and especially right here in Santa Cruz County. Finally, Peter McGettigan follows local artist Kirby Scudder as he prepares and implements a daring showpiece of Santa Cruz art. The city of Watsonville, soon to be the largest in Santa Cruz County, has had its problems laid bare. 10,000 protesters marched in 2006. The Brown Berets have been organizing. Emergency workers are leaving the city for greener pastures in, yes, Gilroy. Emery Hudson reports.
Ten years ago, immigration wasn't as big, at least, because of HR 4437, because of all the massive immigration rates, it's a little different. But people did come out when Cesar Chavez was here. People did come out in the Watsonville strike, in the cannery strikes. So the people have always organized.
It was racist, discrimination. They didn't give no opportunity for people of color to come in and participate. Remember, this city's been around for 150 years. It used to look all white.
We're seeing a little bit of a power struggle between the people who have been here for a while and the people who are newly arriving, which is always, you always see these struggles between the newest arriving groups of immigrants versus those that have been here.
PVUSD has 9,000 English language learners. And so our district's biggest challenge is to help them learn English as quickly as possible, but at the same time develop other academic subjects.
Is that controversial?
It's very controversial, yeah.
I don't think it's as marked as people of color and white students. I think it's more about immigration status.
Justicia! Students are proud of their Latino heritage, and that's what they were doing in these marches, saying we're proud Latinos, but at the same time I had a lot of students come up to me and say we're also proud Americans.
To make things happen, it's not going to happen by war. It's going to happen by caring for each other, loving each other, and practicing, through democracy.
There have been successive, probably very unplanned hardships on the city. I mean, you go back to the 1989 earthquake, and you had a city that was on the cusp of doing some good things, and then a setback. And you get up to the cusp of doing things, and then there's a setback. So far as the fire department is concerned, what that has really done is it is kind of deferred some of our infrastructure.
The challenge is always revenues, and revenues. And as long as we are still the lowest per capita in the county, we're going to confront ourselves with issues as, like competing for keeping our police, competing with keeping our fire. When, just across the mountain in Gilroy, they can offer somebody over $100,000 in the fire department. It's pretty attractive.
50% of the department will be eligible to retire in 5 years. In addition to that, the new hires that we're seeing a higher attrition rate with them.
And it's very hard for them to stay here when the cost of living is so high.
Should someone living outside of the city of Watsonville care about this?
I think everyone in the county should care because all the fire departments in this county are part of an integrated system. Can we at least get 14 to 16 firefighters on scene on a first alarm? We might not meet the 8-minute clock, but how are we going to get enough people to be able to do the job effectively? And that affects every single department in the county.
This isn't the only controversial issue that we're seeing, though.
Well, the thing with education is it really shouldn't be centered around politics. It should be, I mean, whether our students go on to college and get great jobs in the future really depends on being inspired by their teachers. I mean, it all comes back to what's happening inside the classroom. And we have a lot of really great teachers in the school district, but the fact is that in PVUSD we can't pay our teachers as much as they do in Los Gatos or in other districts over the hill in the San Jose area. And so that's a fundamental problem that we're faced with.
Well, we're fixing it by still, continue with our plans that we have, continue by keeping our economic development plans, our redevelopment plans that we have, keeping, something that has really helped us out is by having an enterprise zone, by opening the doors, by not being so red tape, to businesses, and by really, being cooperative with businesses that want to come here, not giving the house away, but being cooperative and seeing the interests that we have by having good education, by having good, safe community, and by having affordability of the housing.
The world is becoming increasingly globalized, and it is very important for people to learn more than one language and not just be completely Amerocentric. We need to have a bigger view and realize that the world is so interconnected now that we need to learn how to work together with other cultures.
Come and work with us. Let's work together. Let's make one, county, that is prosperous for all of us. And help Watsonville also be a shining example of what we can do with diversification of an area that is so tiny like ours. And at the same time, let's preserve what we have here because this whole county is just a marble, and it's just an incredible, beautiful garden that we have to save it and also give it for the next generation.
That piece was shot and edited by our producer, Emery Hudson. What did you learn in making this piece, Emery?
Well, it was really interesting being in Watsonville and talking with people who live and work in Watsonville every day. And in the last census figures, we found out that Watsonville is nearly 80% Hispanic. And if you compare that to the city of Santa Cruz, they come out as nearly 80% white. So we're living in a really divergent county here.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell me how did you find out any of the differences between Watsonville of the past and the new Watsonville, as I've heard it said?
Sure, yeah, you've got that great quote from Oscar Rios saying about old Watsonville, it was all white, and it was. And so now the city of Watsonville is moving towards a more progressive, more Latino, more brown town almost. Mm-hmm. And so you're getting this fight between the old guard and the new guard.
What are some of the things that helped make these changes come about?
I think the union actions at the cannery strike, which actually brought Oscar Rios down from Oakland. You're also seeing simply a new mix of people coming in. You're getting a heavily bicultural, bilingual population moving into this heavily Latino society. So it's you get a lot of farm workers, a lot of blue-collar workers, but a lot of white-collar workers too. And you're seeing a lot of new development, like they're building, they've just finished, in fact, building their new civic center in downtown that'll house lease space for businesses, the county courts, their library. And Cabrillo College will also be building a new vocational center down on the site of the old library.
So what's the budget in Watsonville? I know there's been a lot of problems lately during their budget hearings concerning their parks, their emergency services. What did you learn about those things?
Right, and they've had a lot of fights over this in the past, and again, it's the same issue that they're continually facing of old guard versus new guard, and so Watsonville has a tax structure that's very light. If you look at the breakdown on the County of Santa Cruz, a resident of Watsonville pays the least out of all of the other cities, be it Aptos or Scotts Valley or the city of Santa Cruz. And yet they get the same amount of services from their emergency workers, from fire and police and EMS, as Scotts Valley and the city of Santa Cruz does. So they're really getting the most bang out of their buck. And we heard Mark Bisbee, the fire chief, talking about that.
So does it seem like a city that's very efficiently run?
Yeah, they do a lot with their money. I mean, it's a lot like community TV. They have a small budget and they're doing as much as they can with it. And how this affects everybody is that everybody is using everybody else's emergency services. That if a big fire happens in Aptos, for instance, Watsonville fire units are called up. So this is really affecting all of us.
That was a very interesting piece. Okay, thank you, Emery. Thanks for being on set with us. Now let's take a look at a topic that invariably affects all of us. These days, it seems that everyone has an opinion on the matter. I'm talking about our current system of healthcare and what many are calling a system that's in dire need of repair. Community Television's Craig Goldstein reports on what the current situation is like right here in Santa Cruz County. He speaks with fellow Santa Cruzans that have been directly affected by it. He also speaks with a few that are working locally to make a difference.
Rein in the influence of the insurance companies.
We go ahead and get something passed.
We can fix our broken system, and we can make healthcare more accessible.
California Universal Healthcare Act.
Whether you've heard it uttered from the mouths of those in the midst of their campaign furor, or from those already elected to represent the will of we the people, or maybe even you've heard it through the flickering popcorn ambience of the silver screen, there's no denying that somewhere, from someone, you've heard the three words, healthcare reform. Probably over and over again. But what exactly does all this talk mean? In the California State Legislature, Governor Schwarzenegger recently vetoed Democratic Speaker Fabian Nunez's bill, AB 8, and called a special legislative session to continue negotiations between his own proposal, one that would mandate all Californians to obtain health coverage, and the key elements of Nunez's bill. Of course, it's a lot more complicated than that, but whether or not you agree with one proposal or the other, I think most would agree that the current system does indeed need fixing. It's just what kind of fixing and how much it needs that has been the subject of much debate. Before we break the issue down to the local level, let's take a look at some of the statistics nationwide. Recent studies by the Economic Policy Institute show that there are over 47 million uninsured Americans, including over 8.6 million children, up significantly since the year 2000. Not a pretty picture considering that amount equals the combined populations of the states of New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Maryland. So let's take a look at exactly what all this means right here in Santa Cruz County, the epicenter of our daily lives, and begin by talking with Alan McKay of the Central Coast Alliance for Health, a nonprofit health plan whose mission is to reform and improve upon the underfunded Medi-Cal program of the Monterey Bay region.
Well, Santa Cruz County is hit hard by the issue of the uninsured for a couple of reasons. One is we have prevalent industries here such as agriculture and hospitality that don't traditionally offer health insurance to their employees. But additionally, there's the convergence of the high cost of insurance with the high cost of living here, which makes it, particularly difficult to afford insurance even if the employer can offer it to us. So Santa Cruz County has many benefits. The rate of uninsured here is a little over 18%, which is better than California at large, but then California is one of the worst states in the union in terms of the rate of uninsured. So the local factors make us a little better than California overall, but it's still a big challenge here.
It's not much to celebrate.
No, it isn't. When you have more than 40,000 people uninsured, you know you have an issue.
So just exactly where does California place on a scorecard of overall health system performance? Oh, wait, there we are. resting comfortably at an unpretentious number 39. At least we're not Oklahoma. So you might say you can't win at everything. But unfortunately in this game, people's lives are at stake. Katie Boriak discovered this reality the hard way when a few years ago she began looking into what options were out there to insure her newly born son, Aiden.
I've always been covered through my employer, and they have great insurance and everything. And when I first had Aiden, I didn't even think about it. And I went to them, and it was $300 or more a month just to add him on there. And I couldn't afford that. And so that's when I realized, oh, what in the world am I gonna do?
Katie and Aiden were actually lucky to discover the Healthy Kids program in Santa Cruz County, since they didn't qualify for the state Healthy Families or Medi-Cal programs. But what about adults who need medical attention, but for one reason or another lack health insurance?
Tengo diabetes como por 4 años y pues usualmente iba regularmente al doctor cada 3 meses para mis exámenes de laboratorio y para ver cómo iba progresando o si iba mejorando. Y ahorita pues no me los he hecho porque la primera vez después de que perdí la aseguranza lo hice, pero me salió como $290 por puros exámenes. Y solamente esa vez lo hice y ahorita no sé cómo está todo. Sigo tomando mi medicina, pero no me he hecho los exámenes de laboratorio ni nada. Pues no teniendo la aseguranza cambia completamente tu vida. Es vivir con puro temor. ¿Qué va a pasar si un día me enfermo serio y voy al hospital? ¿Con qué voy a pagar?
Rafaela and many like her are forced to seek help from safety net clinics such as the Women's Health Center in downtown Santa Cruz. But these are usually nonprofit facilities whose limited resources are being stretched thinner and thinner as our national and state healthcare systems further erode year by year.
As most people know, more and more people are becoming uninsured every day, and those that have insurance are less well covered. So we're having to absorb more and more patients that can't get health care elsewhere.
But what about all of that incessant chatter about healthcare reform coming from Capitol Hill? What could it mean for clinics like the Women's Health Center?
The problem that I think we have and that many safety net providers have is that most of the proposals on the table today really just nibble around the edges and are dealing with how we insure people and aren't really meaningful healthcare system reforms. And if you really want to reform the system, we need to provide healthcare coverage for everybody. And the simplest way to do that is through a single payer system that avoids all the unnecessary costs associated with administering a multi-payer system.
So what is a single payer system? Well, for one thing, it's the basis of SB 840, a bill authored by Democratic Senator Sheila Kuehl of Santa Monica that would provide universal, comprehensive, and affordable health care for all residents of California. Though not currently on the table, SB 840 is indeed active in the state legislature and may be formally proposed in the not-too-distant future. To help further define what exactly a single-payer health care plan is, we spoke with Carol Robertson, chairperson of the Santa Cruz County chapter of Healthcare for All, an advocacy group dedicated to bringing about such a plan right here in California.
Under a single-payer plan, all the money goes into one fund. It's dispersed by that fund to private providers and private hospitals, just as they are now. All the money that's paid in goes to the provision of services. Profits are not part of that. It's vital that the insurance industry, the for-profit private insurance industry, be taken out of the equation. We don't have a private fire department. We don't worry about whether the fire department is socialized or not. If you need a fireman, if you have a fire, you call the department, and everybody in the community buys into the notion that they need that protection. The same is true of healthcare. We will get sick sometimes. We don't know any more than we know whether we'll have a fire.
need insurance. It seems like a basic human right to me. I mean, it just seems like there shouldn't even be a question about it.
Well, I think California is really at a crossroads right now, and I think that comes from the realization that healthcare reform is not an issue that can wait. It's affecting more of us every day. It's reaching into our personal lives. It's in many cases creating a real insecurity, financial and health-wise. And then we also have a governor and a legislature that seems ready to deal with this issue. So those two things coming together, I think, create an opportunity for us to make California a better place.
While it's true that more and more politicians in Sacramento are taking a serious look at reforming our current healthcare system, it's also true that on both a national and state level, we've heard much of this kind of talk before, only to have it fizzle away through intense partisan bickering. Only the coming months will show whether or not our state legislature can plow through their differences and enact some kind of meaningful change. I myself, as one of the many uninsured Americans, can only hope so, because for me and those 47 million others, the difference between a healthy or unhealthy existence, as well as the difference between economic stability or financial ruin, is just one risk too many away. I'm Craig Goldstein for Epicenter. Thank you for watching.
Oh, yes, to the 40, to the 50, to the 40 of Dedham. He's going down the sideline, and it's a...
If legislation being considered now in the U.S. Congress passes, you won't see your local team or your government or local events and news on this TV channel. Telecom giants want to end the funding source for this and other local channels. And with such action, end your rights to watch or produce local programming. Don't let local access become won't see TV. Go to SaveMyFreeSpeech.net or AllianceCM.org now and learn how you can help. Become informed and contact your representatives in Washington. The time for your action is now. Otherwise, this is all you'll see here soon.
I'm Amy Goodman, host of Democracy Now!, your daily grassroots, global, unembedded, independent international news hour. You're watching community television of Santa Cruz County. Please continue to support free speech and your local public access television.
Welcome back to Epicenter. I'm Mark Halfmoon. Tonight, I'm here in the studio with public artist Kirby Scudder. Kirby is responsible for a project that happens every year called Nightlight. You want to tell us a little bit about Nightlight, Kirby, and what you're actually doing and why?
Sure. Nightlight is a project that we've just completed our second year. It's a project for peace. It's a community vigil where we get together for one night, September 21st, which is International Peace Day. What we've done in the past is bring lights out to West Cliff and the boardwalk and the wharf. And what we've asked the community to do is come out and celebrate with us with this peace vigil, using lights as a sort of conduit for us together in a quiet vigil way to talk about the issue of peace.
It's part of an International Peace Day celebration, isn't it?
That's right. September 21st is International Peace Day, founded in 2001 by the United Nations. A young man from Australia back in 1999 decided to push for this, that what we have is we have celebrations for Valentine's Day, all these other holidays, but nothing that celebrates peace. And he was able to convince the UN to basically create an International Peace Day where there are ceasefires around the world in war-torn zones, where people can come in and bring medication, rebuild schools, and all those things without the fear of being shot in war zones. So, really important day around the world.
It seems like a positive sort of thing to do, putting up the lights. What do you actually get? You have one of the lights here.
Yeah, I've got one of these. We have 500 of these we bought 2 years ago. These are 15 million candle power spotlights, and they're battery powered. They're very low wattage, so it doesn't take a lot of electricity to charge these. And what we've done is pointed these up into the sky, straight beams going up every 25 feet, and then we've asked the community to come out and turn them on for us at 9 o'clock at night. And it's been an amazing event. We had roughly 20,000 people last year. We just completed one last week. We had probably about 5,000 people out there just an incredible event for people to come together in a really quiet way to celebrate the issue of peace. A very important issue.
Well, these lights, they look kind of expensive. How did you raise funds to get 500 of these big lights?
No, we were really lucky. Two patrons, Joe and Debbie Quigg, who've been big supporters of the arts here, bought these for us last year, and we now own them, and we're using them every year for what's going to be an annual event. We're going to do it again next year. We're hoping to expand it down to Monterey, do all of Monterey Bay next year. The point is to basically have a visual symbol for our solidarity about this very, very important issue. And so we're just trying to bring community together.
Well, this lights up the coast along West Cliff Drive. Are there other communities that have caught on to this nightlight idea?
Well, there are a lot of people that have been, heard about this and want to start it in their communities. It went international last year, went to the former Soviet Union, Russia, to Germany, all around the United States. Ironically, this year, Yoko Ono is actually building a light statue in honor of John Lennon that will shine 8 months out of the year, again, with the very important issue of peace. So light seems to be something that a lot of people are using as a metaphor for us coming together in communion about this issue.
Well, it's not exactly, as you're saying, it's not exactly a protest piece. It's something it seems to be something proactive toward touching people. What kind of responses have you gotten from people who've participated or just merely seen the exhibit?
Very, very powerful. I mean, people have come out from the ages of 2 to 82, and it's really been an event that's unified people in a lot of ways. We're not taking an action like a protest. Protests have sort of taken a different turn in the last 10 years around the world. I'm sure everybody's heard about the monks that happened in China last week. We're not doing that. What we're doing is something that really begins the conversation, and hopefully that conversation leads to something more powerful in the future, more actionable items.
Okay, Kirby, a lot of people would say, we're in the throes of war. There may be a war with Iran. What good does putting up a bunch of lights do? I mean, how does that? It seems like it may seem kind of passive to some people.
Sure. Well, it's not passive by any means. It's really the beginning of a conversation. Peace is a process. It's not a thing that you ever really accomplish. There is no point where you get to the finish line and say, we've created peace. If it's not part of our dialogue, if it's not part of something that we're doing on an active basis, just like filling up your car with gas, your car doesn't run unless it's filled with gas. This is a project that is about bringing people together. I mean, I grew up in the 1960s where public opinion really influenced what happened in politics. I'm very frustrated as a person right now that people are really taking for granted where we're at geopolitically around the world, and we are engaged all around the world, the United States of America, in conflict. And so I'm frustrated. Yes, Nightlight is just one project, shines lights into the sky to use it as a conduit to bring people together. But the reality is that once Nightlight is over, we haven't solved anything. We need to move on. And so I personally want to do things that are actionable, that we can actually take firm action about where we're headed as a nation, where the world is headed. I mean, there is conflict in Northern Africa, there's conflict in Asia right now. All throughout, Persia and the Middle East is about to explode. What we all need to do is really spend some time devoted to that issue. And so Nightlight is just one piece of it. I have some ideas for next year that I want to put together a peace summit where we bring groups and organizations together where we have a real dialogue about this issue. It's not like it was in the 60s where it's about tie-dyed shirts and love-ins. I mean, that stuff is great. But the reality is we're in the hardcore threshold of conflict around the world. And whatever we can do to resolve that, we need to be doing that. We need to be doing it now.
Great. Thank you, Kirby. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
September 2006 was the scene of local artist Kirby Scudder's first Nightlight event. Thousands of Santa Cruz County residents helped Kirby light up the night sky with 500 spotlights placed along Santa Cruz's West Cliff Drive. This year, the project focused on illuminating the area between the city's two lighthouses. Epicenter producer Peter McGettigan has been documenting the project over the last 2 years.
14th. Today's September 14th. I'm 7 days out from Nightlight. And we are here in front of Trader Joe's, and right across the street over there, in about 10 minutes, based on my non-existent watch, is a truck that's going to pull up with the 500 lights that we're going to be using out on West Cliff next Thursday. So this is a big moment in all this. $17,000 worth of lights. The total weight is about 7,000 pounds. They're not here yet. They said they're going to be here at 1 o'clock. So I'm out here waiting. Okay, I'll call you the minute they're here. All right, bye.
Who was that?
Emily Riley.
How's she involved?
I couldn't do this project without Emily.
Yeah.
Emily has helped me work with all the city departments that I needed permissions. I have a permit. That was huge. Without the permit, there would be no project. She's helped me secure 250 vests from Caltrans. She's introduced me to people who've been incredibly supportive, financially and otherwise. Oh my God, the list is just endless of the things that she's done for this project.
It's going to be fabulous. So I'm ready if you are. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Well, what we're going to do is there's, I think, 34 lights per pallet. So we're going to unload the 11 pallets off the truck, put them inside the former Ace Hardware. Then we'll have to unpack all of them, start charging them, and then during the next 7 days, I'm going to hand sign every one of them and number them. This is the craziest thing I've ever done. This is a huge project, and the reason it's huge is not just the logistics of the 500 lights. I mean, that's a manageable task. But what it is, I'm inviting the entire community to be a part of this project. I mean, that's the key to this whole thing, is that the community comes out in force, in solidarity about the issue of peace, and I've never done anything that large before. It's a big responsibility, asking everybody in this community to come out.
So where are you taking these?
Westcliff? I don't know exactly how far Westcliff, but some distance.
Is this your first trip, or have you done another trip?
No, this is the first trip right here. I think this is everyone's first trip. Pretty sure.
So I've got 5 o'clock, the supervisor's going to show up. I need to talk to them briefly, and then I'm out of here. I'm going to meet Emily out at Natural Bridges with the Women's Rise Group. Okay. We are exactly at, what time is it? It's
5:38.
5:38. So in about 20 minutes, we're going to see how many people show up at the first staging area, and how many people may already be out at Westcliff at this point. You know, and it's great to be in a situation where you can dream a dream and see it fulfilled, and we're about to fulfill a dream. And include a lot of other people. So obviously, we had a common chord with a lot of people. I mean, obviously, this is a shared dream of a lot of people to do things like this. And, you know, it shouldn't just happen once a year, but that's about as much as effort as I can put into something. But hopefully, it'll spawn people to go out and do something themselves. I mean, that's really what this is all about, is action.
This is pretty incredible. I was called by the Associated Press today. They want to make sure to get pictures because people have heard about this all over the country. So, I think, I've said it before, but I don't think there's anyone but Kirby who could make this happen in this way. And he's someone who dreams big, and unlike other big dreamers, he actually knows how to make things happen. So I think hopefully this amazing event will happen here tonight, and then next year we'll be seeing it bigger, maybe the whole Santa Cruz County coastline, and year after that maybe the whole California.
You know, last year was the first time event.
Right.
So I think there's a kind of excitement and, kind of a, what is this thing all about, excitement, as we're moving to make this an annual event. And what I'm really moving towards is having the community on this. But what we're really trying to do is, ideally, and I said this yesterday to some folks, ideally I'd like to see this, 5 years from now, that I'm not even involved. I mean, I'd be involved in support of it, but it really gets taken over by the community, and this becomes their event, whatever that looks like. I mean, year one was, I buy 500 lights, I put them out, it's my kind of, logistical orchestration. But what's really going to make this powerful is going to be when it becomes its own entity for this community. Yeah, baby.
Looks like a nice night. No rain.
Oh, it's gorgeous, man. No rain.
Yeah, there was fear of that.
Thank you for coming in.
Kirby, you made it. Welcome. Nightlight 2007, everybody.
That's what we're talking about.
So it's lighthouse to lighthouse.
It's lighthouse to lighthouse. There's the lighthouse. That's going to go on when it's dark.
Is this your station?
This is my station.
All
Yes,
right.
it is.
Is this the first time you've done this, or were you here last year?
I was here as a spectator last year.
Oh, so now you're a participant.
I'm a participant, yeah, you
Cool.
bet. This
Are
is
you-
exciting.
Hopefully it's to be a Santa Cruz tradition.
Well, it already is. This is our second year.
All right, there you go.
You're right. It's going to be a Santa Cruz tradition. But, you know, I was just thinking it would be wonderful if maybe next year Monterey lit up. Wouldn't that be great? And then maybe next year after that, maybe the whole bay lit up with light.
That would be cool.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah.
We'll see what happens, you know.
Yeah.
But for right now, Santa Cruz, they've got to catch up to us.
All right. We're on the cutting edge.
We're the cutting edge. As usual,
Yeah.
somebody's got to do it. And I guess it's us.
Thank you for joining us in our pilot episode of Epicenter. If you would like to sponsor a program, you can log on to our website at communitytv.org. In our next episode, we look at the state of local journalism. The Santa Cruz Sentinel leaves Santa Cruz for Scotts Valley, and funding for traditional media goes down. Today, we leave you with some good news: the opening of Santa Cruz County's first biodiesel gas station. For all of us here at Epicenter, good night and good luck.
Where else is there an opening of a gas station where I know it's, but where, you know, you see kids and dogs and happy people and music and bamboo and, I mean, really, we're really poised right now in this country, in this state, in this county, in this city to really do some very important special things. And I think the next few years are going to be the tipping point for all of this. And I heard a really interesting thing at a meeting I was at the other day. It was all about culture. And one of the women, she said, it's not about culture, it's about consciousness. And I think that sort of says it right for what's going on right now.